Another injury to an NBA player at EuroBasket. Is this becoming a problem? Plus, Paul George plays for the 76ers, or does he actually? And Byron Scott thinks players today are not smart enough to run the kind of offenses they used to back in the day. Is this just him taking a shot at the current generation, or does he have a point? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Don't forget to turn on those notifications as well. Again, we take a look at it. About 70% of you right now watching this, you're not subscribed. Let's fix that. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I'm getting, especially given that we are fans of a team that happens to have a pretty high-profile player in EuroBasket, I'm getting a little bit concerned. Alex Sarr, now missing the remainder of EuroBasket with a calf injury, should be ready for the Wizards by the start of the season. But we are now counting down the, not months, but weeks until training camp in the NBA. Any kind of injury in EuroBasket is going to be concerning and could absolutely impact the NBA season. So Alex Sarr now out for France. We've seen Bogdan Bogdanovic with a hamstring tear. Do you still feel the same that players, playing in EuroBasket is not a bad thing because ultimately they're going to be playing somewhere regardless?
Yeah, I do. But I mean, I think the only caveat to that is that maybe they're playing more intensely in EuroBasket as opposed to like if they were just doing random pickups, they may be playing at 25%, and they could still get hurt doing that. They could still get hurt in the gym. They could still get hurt lifting weights, whatever. They could still get hurt a multitude of different ways. So it's not like that they're just on ice the entire offseason. But yeah, I think maybe that's the only caveat to that. And ultimately, thankfully, he'll be ready by the start of the season. But like we said last time, I mean, this is the one fear that you have when you have your guys playing, high leverage, I should say, basketball over the course of the summer away from the NBA team. So thankfully, again, he'll be good for the start of the regular season. But yeah, this is not great to see these guys dropping like this.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a significant setback. I mean, obviously, it's a setback for Serbia to lose Bogdanovic,
Sure.
but it's a setback for the Clippers as well, and that's always going to be our focal point. Now, I know if you're an overseas fan, if you're a fan of Serbia, you're a fan of France, you're a fan of Lithuania, whatever team you're a fan of, you're concerned about how your country does, and that's totally understandable. For us, we're focused on Donnie, a year from now, I'm not going to remember who wins EuroBasket this year. We're not focused on that. It's more the NBA season, and how close this is occurring to the NBA season is more the concern. So NBA fans, look, we are starving for basketball right now. There's no question. And so we're watching EuroBasket. I've really enjoyed it, watching the EuroBasket tournament. It's been a lot of fun. But at the same time, you are holding your breath the whole time because you know what a difference this can make in the NBA season. Giannis Antetokounmpo missed his last game with a little bit of lingering knee soreness. If that bleeds into the NBA season, that's a huge problem for the Milwaukee Bucks, right? So that's where it can be concerning. It can be a little nerve-wracking. We all think back to the Paul George injury with Team USA a number of years ago that cost him the entire season when he broke his leg. Knock on wood, hopefully everybody stays healthy, but one injury is too many, but there have been a few too many injuries for my liking here in EuroBasket, and I think it's raising concerns from NBA fans again.
Yeah, definitely. You just hope these guys make it through EuroBasket and they're good to go, and we don't see any more situations where guys get long-term injuries, right? That's the worst fear.
Speaking of Paul George, does he actually play for the Philadelphia 76ers?
Does he?
Or not? Because we're going to get to that next. You've probably heard of the Sleeper app at this point, but here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users are enjoying playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but it also offers live stats, including real-time updates and visualization on all stats. A great news feed. I use this all the time. You get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So you can download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. Sleeper, a great presenting sponsor here for the Basketball Bulletin. You can see I even made some picks on the Sleeper Picks platform here. I went with Dak Prescott to go over half a passing yard. That's kind of a free square. Love those little promos that they do. And then I've got Saquon Barkley, more than 96.5 rushing yards against the Cowboys. Oof, I don't know about that defense. And Kyron Williams, I believe, he will get one into the end zone. So I've got more on him there. If you guys want to check it out, you can get a $100 deposit match up to $100 when you use our code Bulletin. Use the link in the description down below. All right, so take a look at this. So this is IShowSpeed. Everybody knows who he is. Talking to Paul George, and this conversation. This is great. This is great. Check this out.
Bro, George, what's good?
Yeah, you got motion, boy.
It's crazy.
You the president, dog.
A president. Let's take a selfie.
Yo, pitch some free. Driver.
So you from Philly?
Hell nah.
What?
I'm from Cali.
From Cali?
I'm from Cali.
What you in Philly for?
Pitch some free. Right here.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Why do you say hell no like that?
Well, I mean, I guess he's proud of being from California. I don't know. Like, if you're a Sixers fan, how do you feel about if you're a Sixers fan in Philly? How do you feel about Paul George saying, "Hell no, I'm not from Philly"? How do you feel about like what is that? Is that the second time the last like couple of days, right up there with D'Angelo Russell tweeting "Go Pat Go" after the Micah Parsons trade?
Maybe. And I'm not aware of, maybe there's some extra pride or culture thing. I don't know. But ultimately, yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. He was like, oh, hell no. I'm from Cali, bro. Like,
well, what are you doing in Philly? I play here. But is that just IShowSpeed just forgetting for a moment? Or is that more indicative of Paul George's availability? Like, people, the general population does not realize that Paul George actually plays for the 76ers because he hasn't spent enough time actually playing for the 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, I question whether he does play for the Sixers. He didn't really play much last season. Hopefully he does play this season pretty much for them because they need him to, right? They are in a unique position because the East is pretty open and they're a sleeper team. Like if they somehow, some way are able to be healthy this year, then all of a sudden they could be really good. And this may be the 1 year they could do that. So Paul George, they need you really good or really healthy, to be good this year. But yeah, I think it's more the former. Like he just ShowSpeed just didn't know. Like he's just probably not keeping up with it. He's busy, man. He's probably not keeping up with it.
No, and I don't blame him for that. But Paul George played 41 games, so exactly half the season last year. And the 76ers, like,
but
Donnie,
did he go look at the number drop off? Did he really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Sixers are such a weird team this year because you look at them and say, well, if they get Paul George healthy for the playoffs, if they get Joel Embiid healthy for the playoffs, but now he's going to be in his age 35 season and he dropped to 16 points per game last season. He's already been dealing with injuries over the summer. I don't know, man. We've talked about it with Philly, but it's, even if they are healthy, are these guys as impactful? And is Joel Embiid at like 31 now? I think has he already peaked and he's now on the way down? And is that ultimately going to be Philly's undoing? I hope not. I hope we get at least one more run out of these guys. But man, Paul George going into his age 35 season, Joel Embiid, like I said, what's he sitting at 31, something like that? And it feels like these dudes are older than LeBron, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because just the way that they've been in and out so much. And in the case of Embiid, largely out for, I mean, Embiid missed the first, couple years of his career. And that obviously set a bad precedent for him. But yeah, PG, I mean, they need him, but like we've already talked a lot about them and the fact that this is probably the worst deal in the NBA at this point. They may have two of them, really, despite the pedigree of Embiid and the track record so far in terms of when he's actually out there. But yeah, they're in just such a weird situation with these two guys, and they have to hope that they're good this year. And I would say, I think that Paul George dropping to 16, 17 points per game, his percentage is falling off a cliff. I mean, some guys get hit that quickly when they start aging, right? Sometimes they just fall off a cliff. I don't know that is Paul George. I would expect him to bounce back from that. Maybe he's more of a 20 point per game guy, which is still down from the 23, 24. But yeah, and Embiid was down 10 points. My God. But look at the games played over the last couple seasons.
Right.
Jeez, man.
Surprisingly, Donnie, I thought this was going to be even lower. Joel Embiid only played in 19 games, And
well, remember they tried to play him early and he was like in and out. Then all of a sudden they're just like, okay, we're just going to sit him. This is over.
but take a look at this. This should be concerning for Philly. This number is way higher than I thought it was going to be. I expected to see like minuscule. Joel Embiid and Paul George played 852 possessions last season.
That's
together.
not bad.
Together.
That's
yeah, bad. And Joel Embiid only played in 19 games.
That's
so
not bad.
That's actually pretty impressive. But during that stretch, they were a minus 4.6 or minus 4.2 with both of them on the floor. And in their primary lineup, played 170 possessions with Tyrese Maxey on the floor as well. They were a minus 10.6 per 100 possessions.
That is bad.
Are they even? That's the real concern there. Like, even if you get those guys on the floor, is that even going to be a positive result?
But
that says
Joel
no.
couldn't even move last year. He literally couldn't move. So, like, if you have a better Joel and presumably a better PG, I would not expect them to be 10 points worse when all three of their best players on the court again. That seems like a massive outlier to me.
But so, like, when Speed is saying, "Oh, he's like, why are you in Philly? Oh, you play here." Yeah, even when he's on the court, though, is it really Paul George right now? God, I hope we can get back to that. And same thing with Embiid. I hope we can get back to Joel Embiid is on the floor, but it's really Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
It's not this shell. It's Joel Embiid. Embiid?
Stop.
Shell
Stop.
Embiid?
Don't
I don't
start
know.
it.
I'll
Don't
find
start
it.
Don't start it.
I'll find it. I'll find my way.
Joel's Shelbead. Joel Shelbead. Shelby? What?
Shelby. There we go. They need these guys to be what they've been in the past. And I hope that what's in the past doesn't stay there. I hope there is something left from Embiid and PG, because the numbers from last year are not great. It is still small sample size territory, but it is kind of a funny little one-off there with Speed and not realizing that Paul George plays for the 76ers. But I do think it's indicative of a bigger question for the Sixers heading into this season.
Yeah, definitely so. I would imagine that at least one of these guys should be fine next year and maybe, come back to normal, because they both were shells of themselves last year.
Yep. Shell Embiid. All right.
Stop.
Byron Scott says players today can't run offenses like the triangle offense because of poor basketball IQ. This is what he had to say on his show. Said, when you're running the triangle, you're running what we call the Princeton offense back in the day. If you've got players who have high basketball IQ, like you said, you ain't got to call stuff because the defense dictates what you're going to run. And he goes on to say later, and it's reads is all it is. It's reads. And I think one of the reasons they say it won't work today is players aren't smart enough. So the basic premise here, Donnie, is that we're not running the triangle offense anymore because players aren't smart enough. Now, I think there's other reasons beyond that why we're not running the triangle offense. But is this another old head just kind of trying to take a shot at the modern game, which we've seen so much in the NBA? Or does Byron Scott have a point here? Are players today not as smart when it comes to basketball IQ as they were a few decades ago?
I would like to think that, just like with anything, there's good eggs and there's bad eggs. There are guys that just get the game and they would be able to play and figure out any of this stuff in any era. And I'm not just talking about the tippy top stars. I think there are guys that would fit no matter what, just because they've got the ability to play a multitude of ways. And I think you could take a number of guys from today's era and plug them into these more organized, systematic offenses and have them learn how to do read and react stuff. I mean, we have offenses currently that's all just predicated on reads, and we've seen players struggle to fit into some of that stuff, like Golden State, for example. That's one of the big reasons that they've kind of wanted to move on from Kuminga. He just doesn't really make those reads fast enough, which is actually a feather in Byron's cap. Excuse me. Wrong former coach there. That does go his way. But I do think also you could pluck some guys from back then that probably couldn't play in these offenses either, because maybe they didn't have the IQ. So I think it could go both ways. But I also wonder if some of this is also just because maybe they don't play as much structured ball growing up. Nowadays, the NBA is kind of like you can put the ball in your best player's hand, have them handle and create everything for. I mean, Darvin, speaking of him, he admitted it the other day. Like they run more stuff in Greece, but they just let Giannis run the show in Milwaukee, and they need him to be a Superman and do everything. So maybe that's more so part of it. But I don't think that guys are not able to do it as much as they were in the past, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's guys are literally not smart enough. Did you see a bit more diversity among offenses, less spread the floor, high pick and roll to death like we see in today's NBA? Perhaps. I also think within that, though, there's so many different coverages you have to deal with. There's so many different I mean, you have to make especially for the ball handler, you have to make very quick decisions, whether that's you're the ball handler operating on a pick and roll, you're the ball handler that's receiving a pass and you have to tack a closeout. You have to read what's on the floor, what's not, what's available, and make the correct decisions. And you still have to make very quick and very accurate decisions. But when you look at, I do think when you look at the triangle and stuff like that, like defenses were different. Like the people say the entry pass into the post is a lost art today. Well, how much of that is because defensive rules have changed and it's now much more difficult to throw that pass? Now you're able to double off the ball and things of that nature. So when we're looking at, has basketball IQ dropped? Maybe there is something to guys are just going out there and playing more. When we talk about guys playing in AAU tournaments, they're playing in 4 games every single weekend, and they're playing, is how much of it is, hey, check ball, go run and just run pick and roll and there you go, rather than here's how you run a structured offense. Maybe there's something to that. But I also think when Byron's talking about those specific offenses, why is this not working at this point? Why is this not being run? I don't know if it's a basketball IQ problem versus the game and the rules have changed problem.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, I'd have to go back and just confirm every little thing about it. But can you even run some of these more offenses like that, or like Princeton and all that stuff? Like we were talking about previously, these offenses have elements were in the play calling that player or that coaches still do today. I mean, I know that it still looks like it's just spread, pick and roll, kick to a corner for a 3. Ultimately, they're trying to get those shots, but that's not all it is. No. There's other stuff happening out there, and some of those elements are represented in the play calling. But I wonder if like the defensive coverages with all these different types of zones and stuff like that, that teams and players are able to employ that they just simply weren't earlier in the NBA, would impact some of this stuff. And also, do these older offense styles generate the shots that you want them to generate? Also, that's another thing. I don't think that they would generate the looks that you're looking for in today's NBA. So teams have, while they use elements, they've moved on from this stuff.
Yeah, and that's certainly a fair point too. Like if you're generating a lot of post ups, depending on the player. If it's Nikola Jokic, obviously it's a different conversation than if it's Jackson Hayes that you're posting up. But if you're generating a lot of post up opportunities, that may not be the most efficient shot that you're looking for versus a drive attacking the basket, getting to the rim versus an open 3. When we look at the math of the game, we've moved on from some of the different things that used to be the goal. Certainly, the 15 to 20 footer is now discouraged much more today than it would have been a few decades ago. So I think that's part of it too. Maybe there is something to less structured offense coming up, less time in college offenses and things like that as guys are coming into the NBA.
I think that's absolutely true. Like these guys I think there's structure in AAU. I think there's structure in college. It's just when you've got that guy, you just give him the ball because your best offense, even if you're going to do that other stuff, is still to give your guy the ball. Right.
Well, and how much of it too is player turnover is a much more common thing. Whereas say we look at the 80s and you look at the Showtime era, and you've got largely the same team together for year in, year out, right? You've got pieces around the periphery that'll move, but player movement back then was not what it is in today's NBA. So when we talk about guys being on the same page, developing chemistry and things of that nature, that was inherently there because they were spending that much more time together as a team, perhaps making it a little bit easier to run an offense where you do have to read and react because you have a much greater sense because you've been doing it for years of what all your teammates are thinking.
Yeah, that's probably also true. And also for some of these guys, their role is to just flat out stand in the corner. So I think that they're pretty plug and play. Even in some of these other offenses, they're not going to be involved in every single action. They may be on the opposite side of the court. Maybe they're getting a down screen as a diversion, things like that on the opposite end of the court. But for some of these guys, that may also be the case. And I think maybe just because of the player movement, the game has also become more portable. You've got more guys that kind of just can fit into these other teams. So chemistry is maybe a little bit devalued because you're not running 100% play call rate of these older style offenses. They may call plays, 40% of the time now, something like that. You'd probably be happy with that. But a lot of it now today is a lot of just spread the floor, pick and roll, generate looks, things like that.
I think I have come up with the ultimate reason, though, why Byron Scott would feel the way that he does. This was the last team that Byron Scott coached.
Oh no, don't do it. Stop.
Hang on. There it is.
Don't.
That's the team. That's the team. It was 1 year of experience for Jordan Clarkson, rookie Marcelo Huertas, a rookie Larry Nance Jr., 1 year of experience for Julius Randle, a rookie D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young. Nick Young's on the team.
Blackway. Oh my God. This team would have gave me the biggest headache.
So if you're and meanwhile, you've got this incredible basketball mind in Kobe there. That's in year 19. So it's you. If you're Byron, it's you and Kobe surrounded by all these kids. Of course, you're going to feel like nobody can run the offense right. You've got all these kids who haven't done it before, and that was his last experience as a head coach.
Meta is your adult in the room at this point too. I don't. Oh, okay. Like this team would be, man.
Maybe that's a factor. I'm sure he has been around plenty of other NBA teams since then. I'm not saying that, but I would have to imagine that Byron was probably not that impressed with the basketball IQ of a bunch of super young players, especially with the basketball IQ of Kobe Bryant mixed into that. And that was the last team that he coached.
Yeah. Shout out to the GOAT, Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly, man. Woo, that team, man. All right, everybody. Give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Is basketball IQ on the decline? Is Byron Scott right? Is he just being grumpy? Give us your thoughts in the comment section. What about EuroBasket? Are you still feeling good about players participating in it, or should we be a little concerned? Not that I don't think you can ever actually put a stop to it, though. But how should we feel about NBA players participating in a international tournament so close to the start of the NBA season? And from there, Paul George, what's going to happen with the 76ers? Will anyone recognize that he plays for the 76ers? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.